Before starting our today's topic, I would like to give a brief introduction about our speaker. Dr. Madhumita is currently working with Fasal as a principal artificial intelligence research engineer. Ma'am had done her graduation in BSc Botany from Banaras Hindu University, MSc Biotechnology from University of Rajasthan, and received a PhD degree in horticulture from University of Georgia. Her area of expertise is genomics, data analysis, bioinformatics. I would request all the participants to take a note of questions that can be discussed at the end of the session. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Dr. Madhumita.
Thank you, Pavan, and thank you, Soumya. That was a great, presentation, and it was so good to know such a diverse background of the students. As I was telling Pavan, that my own background, educational background, has been all over the place because I wasn't just happy with one subject. I want to know all. I wanted to be an expert in everything. Um, Saying that, let me share my screen. Okay. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, thank you all for this great opportunity, especially on such an auspicious occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi. You know, Lord Ganesh represents intellect, wisdom. So I find agriculture and AI, these are like, I'm passionate about this domain, and it's very close to my heart. And I thank you all for this opportunity to share this knowledge with you all. So I am, as Pavan said, I'm a principal AI research engineer at Fasal. I will be talking about Fasal and later in this presentation, what we do, how we use AI in agriculture. Before I start, I would like to say that I want this session to be as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please do not wait until the end of the session. You can ask me in middle of this session also. Feel free to ask me any question, okay? So, yeah. AI is like, it's like the recent buzzword that we all keep hearing, and it's sort of like a complex topic or maybe a black box for a lot of people. So when you have when you start talking about a complex subject matter, it's always easy to start with its definition. So if I go by textbook definition of AI or artificial intelligence, it is the science of making smart or intelligent machines and programs that can help in human tasks. Sounds easy, but the problem is that this definition or the concept of smart or intelligent machine has been evolving as our technology has been evolving. So say for example, maybe a lot of you might be having this application called King Ludo or Ludo. That's a lot of, I know a lot of students and everybody loves to play it. So if you see, there is an option to play Ludo against the computer. And the computer is pretty smart in playing Ludo. And sometimes, actually, I'm very bad playing Ludo. I have no idea like how to play it. For me, I find a computer that can play Ludo is smart. But if you ask people, they would be like, like in the era of self-driving car, Siri, you call a computer playing Ludo is smart? Because the thing is, any game has its own rules and regulations, and you can program all these complex calculations or probability, and can make a computer learn to play any game, whether it's Ludo or chess, cards, or anything. So the current buzz that you hear around AI is on this subset of artificial intelligence, where called machine learning and deep learning. It's little different from artificial intelligence because usually in AI, computer scientists will write a program and it based on certain rules, and the machine will throw an output. Whereas when it comes to machine learning or deep learning, you don't have to use explicit programming. You can give historical data and use these machine learning algorithms, and the machine will pick up the it's good in picking up these patterns and mapping the input to the output. For example, if you open up your Gmail, you see a lot of emails get automatically into the spam folder. It's because Google, Gmail has been there for almost 2 decades now. And if in those of you who have ever used in the 90s, you have to go automatically and manually move an email to the spam folder. But Google has been collecting this data over years, and now they have enough data to run through this algorithm, give the machine a set of spam and non-spam emails. The algorithms will pick up on these patterns, and then in future you can use to automatically mark your emails as spam. And the more data you provide, the better and more accurate the algorithm is. Another subset that you keep hearing about is like deep learning. So this is actually a subset of machine learning that uses deep neural network based algorithm. So the term neural network comes from human neural network, like how our brain function. And the idea is that these deep learning algorithms they are being used mostly for image recognition, video processing, speech recognition, and it's it uses several layers of these neural networks. Though the way it works is very different from how a human brain works. These neural networks is like every layer takes a certain input, goes through complex mathematical equation, and gives an output which it passes it on to the next layer. So nowadays, all these image recognition, you can take a picture and identify what it is, or Siri voice recognition, and all these, they use several layers of neural network. And truly speaking, whether machine learning, deep learning, or artificial intelligence, and overall, it's not a new concept. These has been around for past few decades. But then the question is like, why we are hearing so much about them in past few years? The reason being, now we have access to a lot of data that we didn't have in, say, 1980 or 1990. That is due to the rise in internet, smartphones. Now everybody has internet, smartphone, computers at their home. You could see that, earlier, I mean, you guys are young, but if you ask your parents, or your elder cousins and all, when we used to, as a kid, when I used to go to bank or anywhere, mostly people will be sitting with a register and enter details. But now all these information has been digitalized. Everybody is using computer to enter this information and store it in cloud. So we have access to this huge data now. And as I mentioned, that a lot of these algorithms, machine learning, deep learning, they require, especially deep learning, because they are processing images and videos. These are like large data sets, and they train on millions and millions of data, which requires high processing capacity. So now, due to the rise in computer and technology, we have access to very powerful CPUs, GPUs, which is like the graphical processing unit. And in fact, now we have TPUs, tensor processing unit. Google has introduced for these neural network that can run these algorithms at very efficiently, very fast. And most importantly, these technology is available to everyone at a very affordable cost. For example, and when I say this technology, these machines, it's not like I have to buy the machines. You might have heard about AWS or Google Cloud, Microsoft Cloud, IBM Cloud. So I can, if I need to run a very complex algorithm that requires a huge processing power, I can just sign on to AWS. They have these powerful machines that I can rent at hourly basis, daily basis, or monthly basis. I can rent that machine, run my algorithm, have the output ready, and then when I don't need it, I downscale the machine. So I don't need to buy a fancy computer or a fancy laptop. I can use these other service providers and use their machines that is available on the cloud. So that is why now AI is accessible to everyone. And that is why a lot of companies and a lot of domains you see AI being the adoption of AI, the usage of AI. So they not only collect data, but now we have the power and the technology to support processing of such large scale data. So some of the use case in agriculture industry, if we talk about, then obviously the first one is robotics. I think for a lot of people, even people who work in AI, the idea of AI is like, in all these movies, we see these robots, like, that going to take over the world. But so in agriculture also, robotics is being, like, this is a major domain for AI. So people are now developing. So if you see in this image, this is like, this robot has these sensors and cameras and can move around a nursery or a farm and can capture the phenology of the plant. So which means it can, the sensors and the cameras can detect whether there is some nutrition deficiency, or if there is a disease symptom in the plant, and can do spot treatment. It's a fairly unexplored area in India. In other countries, it's being more utilized in developed countries because labor there is very expensive. So they are moving to machine to find it to decrease the cost of labor and make more efficient and faster for agriculture. The other domain that AI is being used in agriculture industry is in supply chain. This is one which is definitely being explored in India. So if you all Okay, so to give an example, like suppose if you want to buy something, what you do, like you go to Amazon, you go to Flipkart, you go to if it's clothes, then you even explore Myntra and all these online resources. You see what is the price being offered, what is the discount going on, and you make your decision on basis of that. You have this access, like what to think about. Our farmers, most of the Indian farmers, they actually buy their raw materials for farming from maybe a single supplier at a higher cost, and then once the crop is ready, they sell it to some middleman and make marginal profit. So supply chain management, now AI has come into, and then it brings this whole picture to the farmer on their phone, mobile phone, from supplier to farming to producer to distributor to retailer and final consumer, and gives an overall picture and help in the decision making also, that where should they get the supply, whom should they sell, to maximize the profit from agriculture. The next two area that where AI is being applied is in soil and crop monitoring and predictive analytics. Actually, predictive analytics even is used in supply chain in overall any domain. So that's predictive analytics is used actually just using data. As we said, running those machine learning or deep learning algorithms, training the machine to make the decision, a better decision. I will be talking in detail about this, but first let's have a look at what are the major challenges that global agriculture is facing. I think when we talk about agriculture challenges, I think this is a very, very typical graph that is being shown to you all, is that the growing population, that our population is growing exponentially, and it is estimated by 2050 we will have a population of around 10 billion. What does it mean? As per the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, this will lead to approximately 70% increase in worldwide food demand. And that's just to meet the demand. Forget about nourishing. As the as our population is becoming more and more aware, the demand for nourishing food, other food sources is also increasing. And then to top of it, we have a very limited proportion of arable land, and the water resource is depleting. So we are back to 1950 and 60, the era of Green Revolution, when the biggest challenge was that how we are going to feed our growing population. So we are back there again. And if we talk about major agriculture challenges, we call them now big challenges. And some of these key big challenges are, number one is climate change. We all keep hearing about it, but not only hearing, but witnessing about it. You guys being in Maharashtra, you recently had Nisagra cyclone, which is like the largest cyclone since 1890 one. Just if we talk about 2020, thanks to climate change, we have flood in Assam, we had cyclones in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Kolkata, then we had locust attack, thanks to all this climate change. Think about a farmer, what, like the challenges it put forward to them. And I said, like, you know, we have a very limited arable land, proportion land, and depleting water resources. And to top of it, to top that, farming, mostly Indian farmers, are like, you know, we have a very poor resource utilization. So if you consider like water use efficiency of Indian agriculture, on an average, it is 38%, compared to developed countries where water use efficiency for agriculture is around 50 to 60%. And in like, you know, 90% of our water resource is being used by agriculture sector. With a growing population, the demand for domestic water use is also going to increase. So we definitely have to optimize our resource utilization. Otherwise, it's going to hit us head on. And the reason we have such a poor resource utilization is because our farmers still use traditional farming approaches, where most of the decision making is based on guesswork. They're like, oh, like, you know, they don't have a like, you know, the general idea of when to water, when to spray, when to use a fertilizer. It just comes from like the traditional, what they have heard, or what they have, like, what has been passed down to them. It's not data driven. It is not like a smart way to farm. And in my opinion, that's where AI has the biggest, like, you know, like, you know, it will be a huge help to do, you know, for if you're using AI for data driven smart farming. It sounds mouthful. It's so what do I mean by data driven smart farming? So it's using data as well as the power of predictive analytics in for on-farm decision making. So instead of doing this guesswork, we now use a smart way of making these decisions. And this approach is so is going to save us money, is more sustainable. So what do I mean by data? What are these major sources of collecting data? So one is satellite images, drones, on-farm sensors, GPS. These are some of the important source for collecting data, not only to monitor on-farm conditions, but also to help in making on-farm decisions. So when to water, how much to water. And think about it, we have all this technology, we all have smartphones, and I think we use, AI is being used for all our decision making. That you open Netflix, you get all these recommendations. You open Google Map, it tells you to like, you know, the optimum route to take, the best route to take, so that you can reach from point A to point B in the least amount of time. So if AI is being used in all other domains, then why not in farming? That's like the most important sector that we should be thinking about. It concerns all of us. So how can farming help? So some of the key benefits is, number one, obviously it will help us in optimizing our resources, because it will take out that guesswork. It will bring actual smart way, or like, you know, data driven information of when to water, how much to water, when to spray, how much to spray. And all of that in turn is going to save money. It's going to, like, you know, it's cost efficient. And honestly speaking, it's not like if you overwater crops or overuse pesticides, it's not good for crop health. It's affect crop yield. So optimizing resource utilization is actually going to increase crop yield. And to top that off, overusing these chemicals leads to, like, you know, it leaves chemical residues on our produce. So it doesn't, most of our produce doesn't even meet export quality. So if we optimize that, then, you know, we would be able to produce more export quality produce. And most importantly, smart farming is a sustainable way of farming. So I believe AI or smart farming is going to be the green revolution for 21st century. And it's high time that we adopt smart farming so that we can grow more and grow better. And that's where now I will start introducing to Fasal. That's the tagline for Fasal. Our idea is to grow more, grow better. And any idea that what Fasal does? Any takers on that? Feel free to, like, if anybody has looked up what we do, then do let me know. Nobody? Okay, so actually Fasal is an AI-based platform for horticulture crops. We focus on horticulture crops, and as I said, it capture on-farm data and bring smart farming to the farmers using their mobile phone and in their preferred language. So how do we do that? How do we bring AI and smart farming to the farmers? So first of all, we have if you see this is our Fasal device. It's an IoT device that comes equipped with several sensors that capture important parameters like canopy temperature, humidity, pressure, soil temperature, soil moisture, leaf wetness, and all this data then using the internet, it sends it to the cloud, and where it runs through our prediction engine, or and we then send farm specific, crop specific, as well as crop stage specific advisory to the farmers. This information is, so this data along with all these predictive analytics or data driven AI driven crop advisories, the farmers receive it on their phone in their preferred language. So that's in a nutshell how Fasal works. And I keep telling about these crop advisory. So what are these advisories that we provide to the farmers? So number one is precise irrigation. That's why, Fasal says that it's into smart farming or precision farming, because, and I kept saying that how India has a very poor water use efficiency. So that's like the number one problem we are facing right now. And Fasal helps in that, like by collecting all this information on like what stage the crop is, what kind of crop it is, what is the soil moisture does look like, how does the weather forecast looks like, and based on that, it delivers the information that when a farmer should irrigate, how much they should irrigate. So that information we provide to the farmer. Secondly, we also provide any disease or pest alert to the farmers, and also advisory on spray advisory, what kind of preventive spray they can do. Thirdly, we provide microclimatic forecast to the farmers. So that's different from a normal weather app. So if you open a weather app and you check for weather in Pune, it might say that there is a 90% chance of raining in Pune. Now, suppose the weather station is located at Shivaji Nagar in Pune, and your farm is located somewhere else, 5 kilometers from Shivaji Nagar. So the forecast they are providing is much more specific to that area rather than to the farm. So that's what we call microclimate. And this is where Fasal comes into. It helps in downscaling that forecast to farm level. And you must be aware that these microclimatic forecasts, like whether it's going to rain, what the temperature, humidity is going to be, it's very, very crucial for a farmer. In fact, in a lot of these decision making. So that's what we bring to the farmer. And then because we have all these advisory, these alerts, and our Fasal's crop planner, and then this forecasting also. So a farmer can use our crop planner to check to manage their crops, to manage their farm, and also plan ahead. In fact, 14 days ahead, on all the actions that they could take. And finally, farmers can use Fasal to manage their sales, expenses, cash flows, and overall, monitor their overall finance health. So as I said, Fasal, brings, and all these advisory, all this is available to the farmers on their mobile phone, and in their preferred language. All they have to do is like install the Fasal device and download the Fasal app, and they're good to go. So we bring the concept of smart farming, actually we bring precision farming and smart farming to the farmers. And as I said in the beginning, that smart farming is the way to go, because it's more beneficial, it's more sustainable. So, if I talk about Fasal and its impact, uh, and that's how Fasal has proved it to be true. So the number one benefit I said is resource utilization. So our farmers have been able to save 20 to 30% of water that they've been using. In fact, some of the farmers have saved 70% of the water usage. I said spray using Fasal device, our farmers have decreased the spray intervals, and in fact in turn saved in the spraying cost, decreased the spray cost for their farm. And as I said, overutilization of this is not good for the crop health overall, and that's proof of our farmers have reported an increase in the yield for their crop. If you want to know more about about Fasal's impact, in fact, I would encourage you all to visit Fasal's website. You will find there are several testimonials from our farmers on how Fasal and smart farming have helped them to grow better and grow more. It's important that we all should know the benefit of smart farming. The reason being, even though we know that how smart farming has been beneficial, the adoption of AI or smart farming has been very slow in Indian agriculture. So the concept of smart farming was introduced in 1980 in US, but in India we have been only hearing about in past few years. And we have the technology, we have the resources, we know the benefits, we know it's the way forward. So it's very, very important that we take measures to scale it up. We take measures so that we can make sure that smart farming is adopted at a larger scale in India. And what are these key steps or measurements that we can take? Number one is bringing awareness and reducing this learning curves. I think the number one reason that it's still not as widely adopted in India is because very few people know about smart farming or AI in agriculture. AI is still like a black box. It's still like a complex technology, but that's not true. I hope this presentation showed you that it's not that difficult to explain this technology to anyone. And that's is the first step that we need to take to reduce this learning curve, to bring this technology, this awareness to the farmers. So definitely help in spreading the message. And second is improving internet connectivity, especially in rural areas. As I said, Fasal is an IoT device, which is like Internet of Things. So these sensors need internet to transfer the data to the cloud and go through our prediction engine. And we still in India and many rural areas, we have poor connectivity. So if we want to make scale up this technology, we definitely need to improve internet connectivity. And also we need to make this technology affordable and cost efficient for our farmers. Keep in mind, most of the Indian farmers are actually marginal farmers and small scale farmers. So if this technology is like very, very expensive, uh, it's not going to be helpful for our farmers. And finally, as I said, like this whole buzz area where the major revolution you see in AI is due to the data. So data is like the bread and butter for AI. We need to collect more data and improve our data quality. India is still way behind compared to developed countries when it comes to the ground research. So if you see the when I showed in the beginning the sources of data collection like drones, sensors, how many farms are using that, or collecting data from the ground. I think now the government is also realizing the benefit of data, and they have started programs to improve data collection, and which include they have started this program of soil health card or soil health report, so where they collect where a farmer can send their soil sample, and they can run this, they do get the soil testing and have this information for at the village level or district level. In fact, we at Fasal have also started soil testing facility, and the idea is that we can collect all this information, we can improve on our data storage. So going forward, whenever we adopt this technology, a deciding factor will be like what kind of data we have, the quality of data we have. That will make our technology smarter. And so with that, I end my presentation and would like to thank you all. I hope you all understood now have a better idea about the scope of AI in agriculture, but most importantly, the importance of adopting AI in agriculture, and would help in spreading this knowledge.